Hey guys, if you missed part one of my video, click wherever I put the annotation at. And if you don't like a lot of cursing, a lot of negative Sony stuff, this is your chance to back out now before I set you aflame. Okay? Other than that, enjoy part two.
He goes by the gamer tag of Lyoko Lion.
Welcome back. The last video I talked about the highs of Sony, the rise of the PlayStation brand, and the good old days. Back back when they were making money and other video game companies their bitch. And practically turned Nintendo into a third wheel in a in a two console video game race. But that was then. As of 2007, well, things started to change. And when I say change, I'm not talking Obama change. I'm talking a disastrous, cataclysmic, fuck your mama Jenna Jameson's boob type change for the negative. You see, back in 2006, Microsoft unleashed the Xbox 360 upon the planet Earth, but people were patiently waiting to see how Sony would concur. They did with the most technically powerful console of this generation in the PlayStation 3, but they did so at a hefty price, and price being the key word. Get ready to play some Price is Right cliffhanger, people, because that console came at a staggering $599.99, which at the time caused people to literally jump off bridges, cut their own heads off, and try to sell at the video game stores to try to buy their children it. In fact, during PlayStation 3's launch events, actual crimes were being committed. People were shanking each other, stealing the bags from other customers. Trust me, I had friends that would give me the accounts of this lunacy. And yet, people didn't buy it as much as Sony thought. You see, it was too expensive. And considering it had no games and a then untested Blu-ray player, which even the Japanese didn't latch on to. And by the way, if you can't get the Japanese to latch on to something, you're in a bad way circa 2007, because Japanese practically owned about 60 plus of the market. You see, Sony was banking on the name of the PlayStation brand alone to bring sales. When that backfired, they were in serious trouble, and the lack of launch day games was predicated on this. See, the only launch day game that is of any note whatsoever is Resistance Fall of Man. Other than that, the launch day titles were forgettable at best. But it gets worse. You see, it would take Sony 3 years and a controller redesign slash we're sorry apology to the makers of DualShock before any real game would come out. Circa the Uncharted series and, of course, Gran Turismo 5, which was still underplayed. See, for most people that were looking at PlayStation 3, it was an over-bloated Blu-ray player and nothing else. The backwards capability of the PS3 was its saving grace, but there were reports of bad graphic fidelity, even reports of CDs being literally destroyed because of the high-speed processor that the PlayStation 3 had at the time. Plus, if you look at pictures of early PS3s, it was a behemoth of a console to lay down on a wooden board or have at the center of your entertainment system. Yes, the PSN was free, but the servers were lackluster, and the fact that there were no games on it, again, stressing the point, did not bring people coming in droves to PSN like it did the new Xbox Live. But that's only the beginning of this Storage Wars' fake-sized disaster. You see, back around 2008, they decided to relaunch the PSP as the PSP Go, a digital-only outsourcing system for PSP games that was made smaller and sleeker. Nobody bought it. And I mean nobody. The PSP Go was such a literal disaster. Combine that with the PS3's failure to launch, and Sony, once an invincible company, started to lose customer trust and billions of dollars. Also, the lack of marketing for their games was surprising. In fact, that's still a trend that carries on today. You see, back in the PS2 and PS1 era, advertisements for PlayStation 1 and 2 games were especially high, especially signature games like Ratchet and Clank, God of War, Gran Turismo, and the like. You knew what the first party games were, and you knew what console to play them on constantly. They would almost drill it into your head, almost like a bad television theme song, or the last and very few seasons of American Idol, like trying to drill people that can't actually sing into your head is a good idea on top of all this. On top of Sony's failures with the beginnings of PS3, other projects like their 3D TVs, Sony Bio laptops, and even the relaunch of a Walkman came to a steady crawl. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was buying Sony product unless it was, of course, a camera. Their camera division is the only division in Sony right now that is actually making money. You see, as of right now, Sony has lost hundreds upon billions of dollars, shut down several studios because of flop games, and the PlayStation Vita, well, that's not selling either. The $250 portable successor to the PlayStation 3 has Uncharted Golden Abyss and Persona 4 Golden, which, by the way, if you haven't played Persona or Persona 4 Golden, please do yourself a favor and play it. It's good RPGs. But other than that, the game is an absolute system, is an absolute failure. Combine that with the PlayStation Network hack job done by the group Anonymous, or more or less a group of kids. You see, they managed to shut down a multi-million-dollar online infrastructure for 6 months, only to have it recover back and within a week get hacked again. Combine this with the failure of the PlayStation Home base launch, the overpricing of PSN goods, and the failure of PlayStation Plus to catch any attention, and it doesn't look like there is any way out. Yes, there is a bit of silver lining for you PlayStation fanboys. At least you beat Xbox 360 in console sales for a month. You see, Xbox is banned in Japan because of some of its inner workings. You guys have Japan, and you guys can't even sell a console to your prostitute girlfriend if she wanted one. I mean, it's gotten so darn laughable that as of this video's release and the announcement of the PlayStation 4, people are speculating that the console will be $700 to $750 to buy. An even more tragic mistake than the last one made in 2007. If this trend continues, Sony will join the likes of THQ and possibly Sega in bankruptcy court as their once powerful conglomerate hits the crap skid. Not even the father of the PlayStation himself, Kaz Hirai, can save this sinking ship. Did you see him the last time that Sony had an E3 press conference? He was hanging his head down in shame. I wonder why. Maybe we at Code America should give Kaz Hirai a brown paper bag and some marker to hide his face, saying, "I am stupid," with an arrow pointing to his eyeballs. Maybe that will help his fledgling self-esteem as Sony fanboys continue to boast that they still have the most powerful console on the market. True, but when third-party developers want to back out of making your games, it's hard to believe that. Sure, they've said the PlayStation 4 is more open source, but who's to say that's the truth? And they're leaning more towards always online, digital only sales, with the PlayStation 4 not having any backwards capability to the previous PlayStations. Something taken out of the two versions of the PlayStation 3 Slim. The Slim, made to be for faster loading times and better overheat proficiency because of its lack of backwards capability, has failed to catch the attention of Sony fanboys. Not even special edition consoles based on God of War Infinite or moving any console sales. Yes, Blu-ray did, Sony fan, win the format war, but not by choice. You see, because you paid to have the companies back you and not back HD DVD, which for many of the actual consumers that have done studies on this topic have been proven to be superior to the Blu-ray format. Isn't that just amazing? Combine that with the failure of the 3D TVs, their introduction of the 4K, which will be totally over expensive, and you have the makings of a total disaster. You see, the reason why I'm effing pissed is because I was a Sony fan for 10 years. I trusted them with every dollar I owned. And this is how they respect the Sony fans that have given them so much back with terrible customer service, a lack of A-plus games, and ultimately so many market mistakes that it's caused the entire video game world to use PlayStation's once invincible brand as a laugh track. This rant is more of a warning to Sony fans and more of a warning to warning to Sony itself. Straighten your act together, or you'll be joining Nintendo at the back of the line, as even Valve and its Steam box and even the Ouya start doing laps around your defecated bodies. You see, I don't want Sony to fail. I want Sony to go out of business. Quite the contrary. I want them to get the fuck up and fight. I want the PlayStation 4 to be at least $450 to $500, something reasonable, with great games at launch and a great emphasis on great online community and great online play. I want Sony to return to greatness. So this rant isn't necessarily to bury Sony in the ground like Paul Bear or anything, which, by the way, rest in peace, Paul. But in hopes of lifting you, the PlayStation fan, up from your doldrums and say that maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that you'll earn me back. You see, this is what we call being honest and burying the hatchet. But if you screw with me again, you lose me forever. There will be no going back if the PlayStation 4 totally fails on its goal to get the PlayStation brand back in good graces. Even I cannot withstand two failures. And yes, even if Microsoft makes bad business decisions, I trust them more now with my dollar than I would trust my mother with my own checking account. That's how much I trust the Xbox brand right about now. So, with that said, what have we learned today? We've learned that some companies can do really good for really far. But if you're not prepared to deal with failure, the successes of the past can be quickly forgotten. So, let's do us all a favor and let's us have a learning experience coming out of this rant. God, I feel reprieved. Maybe I should go drink a Mountain Dew. Watch some My Little Pony, perhaps. Clear my mind of all this negative muck. After all, I could spend hours dissing on you guys, but then again, what would the point be? The video game industry would be at a loss for it. I'm Leoka Line 59. Live life by the code.